welcome to another episode of Distorted Opinions. Ted couldn't join us this week, so Matt and I thought this would be a good time to do another Gear Talk episode, and today we're going to be talking about a few of our favorite effect pedals. For those of you who don't know what effect pedals are, guitarists, bass players, some vocalists love to use effects for a variety of different things. You've probably heard them in any genre of music you listen to, distortion, wah, you name it, there's an effect pedal for it. So we've picked out a few of our favorites, and I'm going to start out with a few that I picked, and I'm going to kind of go through the first few quickly and spend most of my time talking about what's been my go-to pedal for the better half of the last decade. So to start out, I'm going to be talking about my KHDK pedals, and KHDK was founded in 2012, and the pedals are designed by a guy named Antonin Salva. They're handcrafted here in the US, and they're manufactured actually at a facility in Kentucky. And each pedal, when they manufacture it, is pulled off the line, plugged in, and tested before they send it out. So these things are rigorously tested. It's a high quality product. They're built to last. A number of well-known guitarists use them, and a number of those artists also have custom pedals that you can get. So in my collection, if you've been following the show for a while, you've heard me talk a lot about Metallica. You've heard me talk a lot about Kirk Hammett, one of my favorite guitarists. Kirk uses a lot of KHDK pedals, and so it should be no surprise that I have a few of those in my collection. So the first one I'm going to talk about... Yeah. What's that?
I said show us.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to try to describe these for the people who are not watching and are just listening to the audio only. But the first pedal here is the KHDK Dark Blood pedal. And this is actually a limited edition version. If you go look on KHDK's website, the version that they currently sell is black with a red design. This one is what they call anodized red, and it's got a black design. And the cool thing about this, aside from the fact that it's a really awesome sounding distortion pedal, it's probably one of my favorite distortion pedals that I've ever used, is that they actually sent it with two plates. And you can see the one that's on it is just a standard bottom plate, but they also sent one, and I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, that has Kirk's signature on it. It's been signed by Kirk. So I thought it was really cool that they had the forethought to send an extra plate so that people like me who want to actually play this thing versus just have it sit on a shelf somewhere can do that without having to worry about damaging the bottom plate. So I swapped it out, and this sits in a little foam bag most of the time. But it's a really cool pedal. There's a lot of settings that you can kind of play with on it. There's a high and low gain setting. There's a gate, gain, volume, treble, and doom, which is, I guess, amount of crunchiness to the distortion. So this is one of them. The second one is the KHDK Ghoul Screamer, which is another one that's in Kirk's collection. And this is an overdrive pedal. Kirk describes it as a tube screamer on steroids. Again, it's got a lot of settings you can play with: bass, highs, body. There's 4 different types of compression settings that you can mess around with, and then your standard drive, tone, and volume. It's, again, a really cool looking pedal, really cool sounding pedal. And I don't use a lot of overdrive pedals, but this one sounds pretty awesome. And then the final pedal here is the KHDK Unicorn Blood 2, which is a follow-up pedal. In 2018, they came out with the first version of the Unicorn Blood, and it's a fuzz and octave in one. It's a cool sounding pedal. It's not something you would use for everything, but it's got a cool, unique sound if you're looking for a fuzz and octave in one. And aside from it sounding really cool, it looks really cool. And I don't know, again, how well it shows in the video, but it's actually got, like, the back probably shows it more. Yeah, like a sparkle finish. The first 250 orders also came with a limited edition bag of Unicorn Blood Espresso by Dark Matter Coffee in a matching, like, Unicorn Blood bag. And I don't drink coffee, so for me, like, this was just an added
Yeah, why
bonus.
not?
It smells nice. Um, so, you know, it's a cool pedal. Like I said, they're really well built, um, heavy duty. They're all metal. They're well tested. And again, aside from sounding cool, they all look really cool. Every single one of their pedals has really cool designs on them. So if you're interested, I'll post some better photos of these over on social media when the show drops. But you can also go to KHDK's website at khdkelectronics.com, and you can see some better pictures there, as well as some of the other pedals they have. They have a lot of clips of the pedals in action with some of the different artists. So I highly recommend going over there and checking those out if you want to hear what they sound like. But the
Maybe
pedal,
maybe we might be able to get a video of someone drinking the KHDH coffee just to
there
get their opinion, see how that coffee tastes.
there probably is video of that, and I'm sure I could find somebody who would drink it. I don't know. I'm a little reluctant to open it. I'm one of those people who's kind of I'm a little weird. Like, if it's a collector's item, I don't like to open it,
Yeah,
even if it's a
no, it's
like
equivalent to the specialized Wheatie boxes. Yep, just
right,
keep it sealed.
right. So, I mean, it's a shame to not have it get drank, but it does smell good. So yes, you might find a video of somebody drinking it. I'm sure there's plenty of reviews online of the coffee. I'm sure it's very good. I'm just not a coffee drinker.
Yep.
Um, so the pedal that I want to spend most of my time talking about is the Vox Tone Lab ST. And this has been my go-to pedal for, like I said, the better half of the last decade. It's an all-in-one pedal. Previously, I wasn't really a huge fan of all-in-one pedals. I like having the ability to turn off or on individual effect pedals quickly. Um, but I did get to a point where I was looking for something a little more compact, and the cool thing about this is if you're watching the video again, you can see my amp behind me. This is my regular go-to amp. This is a 62 Fender Bandmaster that my dad and I restored about 20 years ago. It's a vintage tube amp, but it doesn't have reverb. It has, um, I believe it's called tremolo. I'm blanking on the name right now, but I think the effect is tremolo, but it doesn't have reverb. And I've spent a lot of time over the years trying to find a reverb pedal that sounds authentic and does a good job of mimicking spring reverb that you would find in an amplifier, and I've really had a hard time with that. I still have it. I had an Ibanez reverb effect pedal, and it was okay, but it definitely was not the same thing as built-in reverb in an amplifier. So one of the things I really like about this Tone Lab is that it does have a reverb effect, and it's a pretty authentic sounding reverb. It's also, you'll maybe notice that it's got a tube in it. It's got an 12AX7 tube. So again, my amp is a vintage tube amp, so if I turn it up loud enough, I'm going to get tube distortion. But if you don't have a tube amp and you're looking for an authentic sounding tube distortion, this pedal might be a good option for you because it definitely gives you a tube distortion sound. It's got 33 different amps, modeling amps in it. It's got a number of different effects ranging from, you can see there's a wah pedal here, but the wah pedal serves as the wah, a volume, a whammy. Uh, there's all kinds of different uses for this depending on the effect that you're using on the pedal board. It's also got chorus, pitch shifter, echo, all kinds of different effects. And you can combine those in a variety of different ways to get different sounds. And so it comes with 100 presets and a built-in tuner, which is really nice. If you hit both of these buttons on the bottom here, it'll bypass all the effects and go into the tuner mode. And the effects sound pretty good right out of the box, but you can also customize your presets. I have not done this, despite the fact that I've owned this thing for so long, and I really need to do it because I will say the one con to an all-in-one pedal is if you use a variety of different sound effects and you want to switch between them quickly, unless they are nearby each other in your preset list, it's kind of hard to switch between them. And since I haven't customized the presets, it's still got what it shipped with. And some of the effects that I really like are maybe 10 or 15 presets apart. So in order to get to them, you have to tap through it a lot of times, and that's not really convenient. The other downside is, unlike my KHDK pedals over here, which can be powered with a power supply or a battery, this runs off a 12-volt power supply. It can't run off of a battery, so you have to be able to plug this in somewhere. But other than that, one of the things that I particularly liked about this was that it's all of the effects I could probably ever want in one pedal. And I was reaching a point where I had a big pedal board that I was lugging around everywhere. It weighed a lot, it took up space, and I just wanted something a little more compact. And I think maybe about 2012, I saw Dave Martone, who's a Canadian guitarist that I've talked about on previous shows, demoing one of these on either his Facebook or his YouTube channel. And I really liked the sounds. It was very compact. It looked like something that I was willing to take a gamble on, so I bit the bullet and I bought one. And I've been pretty happy with it. This, like I said, has been my go-to pedal. I don't play out a lot. Even before the COVID situation hit, I wasn't playing a lot of gigs lately. I mostly was just doing jam sessions and occasionally playing out somewhere. And so it's nice because it's 4 pounds, it's small. I can just throw it in a bag and be on my way and, not have to gather up all the other pedals that I have. So, uh, again, one of the really cool things, if you look at the backside, there's a USB port on here. And so you can, I believe, go to Vox's website and you can download some user presets so people can share some of their favorite effect combinations, and you can download those. I think you can also use some software to program your own presets if you want to do it through a computer. Uh, Something that I didn't know about this until I was doing a little more research on the pedal for today is that apparently you can also use the USB port to go direct into a computer for recording, which I didn't know. And if you have been listening to the show for a while and you've heard our theme song, so I recorded all the guitar parts for that. Ted recorded the bass, Matt mixed and mastered all that. I just used my mic that I used for the show in front of my amplifier here, but had I known that I could go direct out of the pedal board, I might have actually tried that. So I'm gonna have to play around with that a little bit. That was kind of cool, and I didn't realize you could do that.
We
It's
just
all
find out on season 2 of Distorted Opinions. Maybe
that's
it might be a revamping of the theme song. We never know.
That's right. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if it would be a drastic enough difference, but I'm definitely going to play around with it now that I know that, because I can eliminate the amp from the mix if I wanted. You can also, out of the output, just plug in headphones and listen through headphones if you don't have an amp or you're trying to be quiet in your practice space. I also didn't realize it had an aux in, so if you wanted to plug in an MP3 player, or if you're old school and you still have a CD player, you could plug that in there and play along to some of your favorite songs going through the pedal board. Again, I haven't really played with this, but it is a function. You also have the option to switch between an amp and a line output. So depending on what you're sending this to, it does have that flexibility. So it's a really cool pedal. I like it a lot. I don't think they manufacture this anymore, actually, or at least not this model. So if you're thinking that you might want to check this out, I did look before the show. They do have some used online, and you can actually pick them up for a pretty good price, probably less than what I paid for this when I bought it new, and definitely less than what I paid for any of those individual KHDK pedals behind me. So it's not big money if you're unsure, but you're thinking you might want to get one. But it's a great pedal. I really like it a lot. I highly recommend it. And on that note, I'm going to send it over to Matt, because I know Matt's got a couple pedals he's picked out and he's got a few stories for us. But I do just want to remind anybody who's listening or watching, if you're a musician and you're into gear like we are, let us know if you've got a favorite piece of gear, because we'd love to talk to you about being on a future GearTalk episode, or maybe, you can share a voicemail with us about a piece of gear that we can use in a future episode. But,
Yeah.
we could talk about the gear we have all day long, but I don't know about Matt. I always like hearing what other people are playing with, and we're not paid to come on here and tell you, like, hey,
No.
check out this piece of gear. This is just stuff that we have that we enjoy, and I particularly tend to lean more toward buying gear that comes recommended to me by somebody that I know is like a genuine user of that piece of gear, not somebody who is paid to say, yeah, go buy this gear. So, you
Yeah.
know, I want to hear what other people are using as well. So if you got a piece of gear that you really like, send us an email or leave us a message, or, get a hold of us in one of the many places that were available for you to get a hold of us, and let us know, because we'd love to potentially talk to you on a future Gear Talk episode about your gear. So with that, Matt, what did you pick out for today's episode?
Sure. So as Caleb mentioned, anyone that's listening to this show, I mean, from anyone that's listening, picking up the guitar, wanting to find out an effect, to those that have been playing guitar for years and years and years and curious about what effect they would like to play around with. Yeah, this episode is definitely for you. And the great thing about pedals is that there are just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of different types of pedals out there from all great companies and artists that play them. That this is not going to be the only episode that we're going to talk on pedals and whatnot, and specifically to that nature. I, for one, right now am up to, I want to say, 22 to 23 individual pedals itself. So I really take into heart the tangible aspect of each and individual effect. Just like Kayla said, I'm one of those that if I see a musician playing it, or if it comes by recommended, I'll go ahead and I'll try it, whether it's at a local music store or Guitar Center. I'll go ahead and I'll test it out. And what I do, what I do is when I play them, I end up trying to come up with different types of ideas. And if an idea comes to my head, that's when I know I'll go ahead and I'll purchase it. But with this episode, it was really hard to really figure out which three pedals that I want to come about. And when Kayla and I, connected to talk about our pedal story today and what we recommended for pedals, the one thing that we did kind of in common is we're talking distortion and in multi-effect pedals. So I went ahead and picked out my three favorite guitar pedals. One of them that I actually ended up selling, and then I regained it back because I missed it a lot. But with that being said, any musician out there, any guitarist, bassist, even percussion, when we're thinking about effects, Kayla, I don't know about you, but one commercialized brand name that comes to mind is
I know
Boss.
where you're going with this. That's right.
Yeah, Boss. And, I've heard about Boss all my life. My father has played Boss. And I played with different types of multi-style Boss pedals. And one I wanted to point out was the Fuzz FZ5. This was a pedal that one day I went ahead and said, I want to go ahead and just play a lot of 60 fuzz type of genre music, like Jimi Hendrix, to all the way to 90s grunge. And we talked about the grunge scene in the previous episode. Mm-hmm. And what that made me do is I go ahead and I saw this pedal in the used section, and it was $50. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. A Boss pedal for $50 and it's the distortion? Like, the only thing I could think of that's anything equivalent to that price range is the Boss DS1, the regular distortion pedal. So it got my gears turning, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test this out. I'm wondering if maybe there's some sort of a fault, because typically, sometimes pedals do short out. Mm-hmm. So for those that also cannot see this, I'm going to go ahead and describe the pedals as well. So this is it's a silver box pedal. This one is obviously metal as well, and has three types of tones. So it has a leveler, which will go ahead and adjust your your level of actually input. It also has the fuzz, so whether it's from a very weak tone to a boosting tone. And then the middle, it has three types of modes. Now, I'm blanking out, but it has F, M, and O. So for those that are listening to this and can explain that, go ahead and correct me and explain what those mean and whatnot. But I could tell you this. I fell in love with it when I plugged it in. And right now it's still on the actual setting that I put it on, which is F, which I'm going to ironically take an educated guess that it means F. I'm no expert, but I am an expert in creating music because that's what I've been doing for the past 20 plus years. Played this $50 and I sold it. I'm sorry, and I was sold by it. Came home and I couldn't tell you how many hours I put into this pedal alone with learning, different styles. Again, everything from Jimi Hendrix to go ahead in Nirvana. And, for anything that Boss has put out, I feel like this is kind of a really underrated type of pedal. And anyone that is really looking for those types of tones, especially if you want to get that 60 fuzz, that British tones, I definitely recommend this one. I think it's a great pedal. One of my personal favorites. It's on my pedal board. And here and there, I'll go ahead and I'll throw some, different other types of distortions as well. So that is the Boss FZ5. One thing before jumping right into this is, again, I'm one of those guitarists that loves all different types of pedals. I find that as long as it has a great tone, it's going to sell me. So the next pedal I'm going to talk about, is the MXR Double Shot Distortion. They don't make this anymore. I bought this in, I want to say, anywhere between maybe 2007, 2008, and was really blown away by it. Had two different types of distortion sounds, and it was really kind of the first distortion pedal that I found that you could go ahead and have two different types of inputs. So I played this mostly on my record that came out back in like the college days. You probably won't see it now or not, but I did play this. The EP is This Is Me and the Other Side of Me. And what I really liked about this was, again, the two different types of tones. We had the very top tone gave more of kind of like that fuzz aspect. So again, before I got this, I had the double shot, and that's what gave me those fuzz tones. The bottom ended up going ahead and giving me more deeper tones as well, and a more crunchier effect. So, and finally on the sides, I had some focus inputs, which would go ahead and eliminate those mid ranges when it came down to distortions. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And one day, for God knows what reason, I ended up selling this, and I regretted it ever since that day. Maybe it was about finance again. I was in college. We all need money sometimes, right? So it wasn't until I went to Mr. Music in Allston, Mass, and I saw this in the case, obviously the used because they don't make it anymore. And it was, I want to say, for about, I think it was about $110. And no questions asked, I went and I bought it. It came with the original packaging. It came with the power cord, and I plugged that puppy in, and I think my wife had to tell me to actually stop playing guitar because it was like, falling in love all over again. Reunited, and it feels so good. MXR Double Shot Distortion, another amazing pedal. Gives you the option to go ahead and have two different variations of tones when it comes down to distortion. Everything from classic to metal. Also highly recommended as well, and well-known, respected up there with our boss competitors as well. And finally, the last one is going to come with a little bit of a story. So this next one, I wanted to go ahead and have a metal tone, a straight, automatic, honest metal tone. And at that time, when I came back from my training in the service, I ended up joining my cousin's band, which is the second variation or second lineup of the band called Theory Shift. And you can still hear some of the songs out there as well. When we recorded a couple of tunes, and obviously, the doors are never closed when it comes down to those guys. My cousin as well as the guys I played with are just amazing guys, and I would join bands with them any day. But when I joined, they were more of like a hard rock, Nickelback with Three Doors Down with Metallica and 10 Years all together. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what we were. We were melodic, but we were hard. So I went out and I didn't have a metal distortion pedal. Yes, there was did have Kayla. I believe you have the metal Boss Zone, correct?
I do. Yeah, I still have it. I didn't talk about that, but yeah, I do have a few Boss pedals as well.
Yeah, we're doing. I think the more we do these episodes, we're going to dedicate these episodes to our to those those makers, because I definitely believe that they earn the respect of it. Boss MXR, Digitech, Behringer, yeah, even Behringer too. I mean, we may have I may have probably gotten some eye rollers out of that. They're saying, well, Behringer, they're kind of cheap. Well, hey, I think they're great people. I think they're great stuff too. But anyways, jump back to the story. So I went out and this was 2009, and I've heard of Digitech. I played with Digitech gear before. Even before Digitech it was just its own identity. I was also playing gear that was DoD gear as well. So Digitech came out with this lineup called Hardwire, and they had, I want to say, about 7, 8 or 9 different types of pedals. Your typical delay, your reverb, your tube, your regular distortion, metal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that was a great opportunity to go ahead. Walked into Guitar Center, saw this big advertisement, hey, try our new lineups. And I picked up the Digitech Hardwire TL2 Metal Distortion. I absolutely love this pedal. This is my metal to go to distortion pedal. I played this in multiple bands. I played it in my recent record, Reflection of Shadows. I absolutely love everything about it. What's great about it is that, similar to the MXR double shot, it gives you two variations of tones, a tight and a loose. And I'll go ahead and I'll just show that on there. And what's great about it is that the tight will go ahead and be able to give you more of a smoother, high-end essence to your distortion tones, while the loose will go ahead and reduce those. It'll reduce the mid-range, but it'll beef up those low tones as well. So it'll give you that really good, deep, I want to say like deep, velvety crunch tones when it comes down to playing. It's amazing when we're playing in drop tunings. So when we were playing in Theory Shift, I was mostly in D or I was in drop C tuning. And it's just, going through a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, again tubed. It was just amazing. It's such a great guitar pedal. And I have a couple of notes here about that I want to obviously discuss upon. Obviously, as I mentioned, it features two different types of operation, tight and loose modes. Where the tight is percussive low end, while the loose modes suit detuned guitars. It also has a true bypass circuitry that provides the tone in a bypass constant high voltage operation for tonality, quality, and noise reduction. So what does that mean in third grade terms? It means that you're going to get a clear signal when you're playing it. You're not going to go ahead and get a lot of that feedback. So for anyone that knows about distortion, you're going to get kind of that very, I want to say it's like a army of bees that are just coming right at you. And the feedback can go ahead and really interrupt the way that you're trying to play. So the true bypass circuitry will go ahead and eliminate that, which is great because you don't really see that a lot in high-end type of distortion pedals as well. And what else? What else? And just I couldn't tell you how many times. Obviously it's collecting some dust right now, so it just goes ahead and show it in a little bit of wear and tear. But this pedal traveled with me everywhere. Even when it came down to jam sessions, I made sure that this pedal came with me as well. The great thing about pedals, if you're a guitar player, it's a great way to go ahead and be very creative. That's what pedals are for. It's to allow the artist to go ahead and be creative in all possibilities in any type of genre. And I know that with all three of those pedals, I wouldn't be, the musician that I would be today. And again, it's all about creativity. There's a bunch of artists out there that use multiple different types of guitar effects. And if anything, if someone were to come up to me and say, "Hey, what are your top three?" It would be Boss, MXR, and Digitech, because that's just how my style is. And we'll go ahead and obviously we'll post on our social media, the different types of tonalities that these guitar effects happen to have and whatnot. But that's the Digitech Hardwire TL2. Tell us what we're talking about distortion pedals. Tell us, audience, you guys, what if you're a guitar player out there that likes distortion or that distortion sound, tell us what your favorite distortion pedal is. Leave us a voicemail. We'd love to go ahead and respond back to it. And like Kayla said, we are the type of musician artists that are motivated by those that believe that this is a great guitar because of A, B, and C. We want to hear about it. If you recommend a guitar pedal, send us a message and say, "Hey, I really think you should try this out." And Kayla and I may even do a segment where we said, "Hey, we talked with Joe Schmo that said play this, play this guitar pedal," and that's what this whole show is about and whatnot. So leave us a note. Let us know what you think. And you want to be on a GearTalk episode where we're going to talk about pedals? Come on in. We'll make it happen or not. But other than that, that's it from my end. Caleb, do you have anything?
No, I think that'll wrap it for this one. I mean, obviously, like I said, I have a number of other effect pedals. I have a number of different Boss pedals that I didn't even discuss in this show, but I think we'll wrap it here because I could go on and on about my effect pedals. But again, as a reminder, in case you do not remember the email address or Anchor URL at this point, you can email us at distortedopinionshow@gmail.com, or you can head over to anchor.fm/distortedopinions. You can leave us a message there. You can also find all the platforms that the show's available on in audio only format. Also, all of our social media accounts are linked there. So if you're not already following us on Facebook and Instagram, do so, because we post extras and behind the scenes stuff and outtakes and those sorts of things on the accounts. So you'll find those over there. But yeah, no, thank you for tuning in and watching, and we'll hopefully be revisiting this again soon, and hopefully with some of our audience's picks for some of their favorite pedals and pieces of gear. But we'll return next week. Hopefully, I believe Ted will be with us, so tune in next week for a new episode with the whole gang back together again. Thanks for watching and listening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.